Everything is nice and clean and pristine. Our blower snout is completely torqued down to spec. I'm definitely pretty impressed with this setup. And unfortunately, the best solution was not the easiest solution. I really am trying to think it all the way through to make sure that we have the best setup possible. The radiator and air conditioning condenser unit is totally mounted and installed. All right, guys, it is finally that time. We have our supercharger snout ready to go. We have our boost district pulley on here. This is the 2.38. I cleaned out our snout super well. I went ahead and I adjusted our butterfly valve. This guy right in here, make sure that's nice and tight so we don't leak out any boost. Everything is nice and clean and pristine. We're ready to mount this to the car. Before we do that, I just gotta put a little dab of RTF on here. Alrighty guys, I got our gasket maker on here. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and try to line up these dowels. So that's basically it. We have our blower pretty much set up. Just gotta torque these bolts down to spec and then we should be good to go. And sounds super sick.
Huh?
All right, let's get these things torqued down real quick.
Few moments later.
Alrighty guys, our blower snout is completely torqued down to spec. So 20 foot-pounds, checked them twice, double clicked them all, good to go. Next thing's next. Let's see where this pulley sits on here and how we think it's gonna work the best. This is how we're gonna end up routing our belt. So this belt might actually work for our application. I think it will. Let's try another way. We got the belt on here. That's an accomplishment in itself. I think our next thing that we can really do, put the intake on the throttle body, and then we also still need to put our throttle cable on here. I'm definitely pretty impressed with this setup. So right here, I have my 102mm throttle body. Now this is like the cheapest eBay throttle body I've ever seen. I think I paid a whopping like $32 for this thing a while ago. It came with its own sensors as well. Yeah, if you know anything about sensors, I wouldn't trust them. So I ended up replacing them, like I would imagine that any smart man would. Today what we're going to be doing is a little bit of fabrication. We need to make sure that our radiator, our air conditioning condenser, and our supercharger intercooler all fits up. We have access to all of the lines and that everything is going to be good to go. Radiator and our air conditioning condenser on. We can now see that we still have quite a bit of space between here. A little bit less between our power steering pump, maybe like 1.5 inches or so. Between here and here, we probably have, I'm going to guess that's 4.5, 5 inches. So we're sitting pretty. This setup works super well. The most difficult part about this last setup was that this line right here goes to right there before it was coming out of here at a 45. So I'm hoping with like a 45 downward and a 45 upward, we make a really nice short connection here. We're not worried about that right now. What we're worried about is this bad boy, what's in the box. So I'm gonna unbox this for you guys real quick. We got ourselves an air to water intercooler. These are -12 bungs, which are gonna go from our supercharger to these fittings here. I'm still gonna have to weld these in. Now we gotta figure out where the heck can it fit on here. In between, right here. And the other thing is like we could put it like right here. We could also stick it up underneath here. We do have to worry about these lines though. We're gonna have lines coming out of here, -12, so they're gonna be some pretty big beefy lines. I'm gonna do a little bit of figuring out. I'm gonna try to come up with a game plan, and I'm gonna let you guys know, and then we'll go from there.
Few moments later.
We've done some due diligence. I did some measuring. I tried to find the easiest solution, and unfortunately, The best solution was not the easiest solution, and we want to go with the best, and I honestly think there's only one way to make this work. We're gonna do, what I decided, is we're actually gonna remanufacture this crossbar here. Not the bash bar, but the bar behind it that holds up the condenser for the AC and the radiator itself. So if something happens, like we're crashing into a wall, and a wheel flies off, I don't want to have any of this damaged, not have to do any of that again. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to take it all apart again. Then we'll put it back in the car, take it out, put it back in, take it out, as many times as we have to until we get the right product, we get it to where we like it, and everything works well. So here we go. Now that we have our mounts cut off of this guy, we want these tabs to be sticking out this side. Just see how close we are to getting this to fit in there. And we are pretty far away. So overall, will this fit? Yes, it will. And I think if we keep it all the way to one side, which we're gonna have to, then we can get our bungs on this side. I'd like to cut these guys off. We're gonna weld our new bungs in, and then we can really kind of mock things up, because then we'll know where things are gonna be going. Alrighty guys, so we finally got our belts in. So we have the HD belt, which is a green belt, for our accessory drive, which is gonna run our alternator and our water pump, and our tensioner pulley around the crank. And then this guy, very special and very expensive, is our stretch fit belt for our air conditioning unit. So we're gonna see if that works. Hopefully this is the right one. We got the one for the CTSV. Basically this is the CTSV accessory drive, CTSV air conditioning unit. So we're gonna see if everything plumbs up. Hopefully it does. So we're gonna do that right now. If this works, then we're gonna try to get this belt on, and then we're gonna get our blower belt on, and then our belt situation should be totally solidified and done and dusted. So here we go. All right guys, good news. All of our belts fit up. Unfortunately, our smaller billet aluminum pulley is not going to work with this belt. We got our air conditioning belt on, we got our accessory drive belt on, and we got our LSA supercharger pulley belt on. Everything is on. That's good. Let's move forward. Alrighty guys, we are back in action at the garage, and this is what we got going on. So we are trying to still figure out our setup here on how we want to run everything. Before, we had a V-mount setup, so it was kind of like angled down, and like the radiator sat about right here, which looks super cool, is super sweet. But at that point in time, we didn't have to worry about this guy. So now what I'm thinking is, instead of doing the V-mount setup, I'm thinking it's gonna sit about right there. Like something like this. And I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for us to service as well, because that's huge for me. Is like, if I'm working on it, I want it to be nice and easy to work on. I don't want to spend days, you know, taking it apart and trying to figure out why I can't get it back together or whatever. Now we gotta mount the condenser to the radiator somehow, and then we have to make brackets from the radiator, preferably to the chassis, because if we mount it to this guy, the problem with that, if we get into a crash and this flexes, then our whole structure is gonna flex, and that's gonna crack our radiator, potentially crack our condenser. We don't want either of those things to crack under pressure, under tension. So that's kind of like the thought process behind this. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you guys. I really am trying to think it all the way through to make sure that we have the best setup possible, with still leaving enough space in between here, still leaving enough space in between here, making sure all of our hoses can still be routed and mounted. All of these things are crucial points when you're doing something like this. So it's really important to me that we really think everything through before we do that.
Few moments later.
Alrighty guys, so we have our radiator and our condenser as one unit. I decided I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It's super solid. We have this guy welded up. I was thinking about trying to use these tabs, and then I decided not to, because I decided to do something else. So what we ended up doing is I made some aluminum L brackets, and then what I did is I riv nutted the chassis with M6 1.0. So I have 2 riv nuts and then 2 bolts, one on each side. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pop our radiator in there. We're gonna get it exactly where we want it, and then we're gonna tack both sides up so it's perfect. Then we'll take our bolts back out, and then we'll be able to drop the the radiator out and fully weld it. We're gonna give this thing about 20 minutes to cool down, and then we're gonna keep moving forward.
Few moments later.
All right, guys, there you have it. The radiator and air conditioning condenser unit is totally mounted and installed, so that's good. So if it does take a crash, the goal is to break off these tabs. It would probably bend before it breaks, which is really the goal. We want it to bend before it breaks. So now, what we can finally do, for the whole reason we did this, we can finally find a home for our intercooler heat exchanger, our air to water intercooler. So that is the plan. We're gonna find a home for this guy. We're gonna make some mounts for this. Then we're gonna get it in the car, and then this part of it will be done and dusted. So it is off-centered, which there's nothing I can really do about that because we need to be able to get to all of our fittings. I was really unhappy with the placement of this bung right here. So what I decided to do is that we're actually gonna cap it. We could weld it off, but I don't know if we're gonna need it in the future for whatever reason. So we're just gonna cap this one for right now. This 90 is gonna come out right through this gap. It's like perfectly centered, which is awesome. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill a hole about right here towards the top, and then that is gonna have a -12 bung on it as well. And then that is going to feed our water pump, which is right here. We're gonna mount probably about like this. We're gonna take water from there, we're gonna flow it to here, and then it's gonna come out from here after it's being cold, and it's gonna come back to here, and then hot water is gonna come out of there to this guy, and then this guy is gonna run back down to our pump. That's the plan. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this bung on here. Alrighty guys, after a very long time, we finally got everything all in place and mounted up securely. We have our air to water intercooler, our air conditioning condenser, and our radiator. Everything is looking super perfect, as good as it's gonna get, and pretty pleased with the spacing of everything and how the lines and everything are gonna be coming out. So we're gonna have access to everything, so that's amazing. It is finally that time. We are going to take the RX-7 out of the garage under its own power for the first time.